teller.
It's another day. Left jab, right jab. This is MMA. Mixed martial arts, quick body parts, undefeated when I pick 'em. Who the champ, who the victim? Looking in my crystal ball, I predict the winner. Never stop fighting. If you lose, keep your chin up. Know how the game go. I'm a smart fella. Welcome to the show. This the MMA fortune teller.
The MMA fortune teller.
The teller.
What is up, everybody? MMA Live Discussion, episode 23. We got a good one lined up for you guys. We got Kevin Croom, the hard-hitting hillbilly, joining the show. A lot of you guys are familiar with him from his UFC debut, where he took out Roosevelt Roberts, and he was about a 4-1 underdog going into that fight. So obviously he's been a real interesting character as well. Man, this guy has an awesome personality, and I think he's becoming a fan favorite here pretty quickly. So it's going to be cool chatting it up with him. He'll be joining us here soon. I got the Bellator fights going on in the background. We got Bellator 251. We got about 2 fights left. I just turned my head away from the TV, but last I saw, Austin Vanderford was putting on a beating on Vinicius de Jesus. Vinicius did have a little knee bar there in the first round, but Austin defended it pretty good. You know, he had Paige Van Zant in the background yelling out, defensive tactics to avoid the knee bar. Thank God he had Paige Van Zant in his corner, and he was able to avoid the submission. And, last I saw him, he's putting a beating down. So I see a lot of blood in there. And I think we may have gotten a finish here. Let's see, what did I miss over here? I think we may had a finish, huh? Do we have a finish of that Austin Vanderford fight? We still got 2 fights left. We got Tyrell Fortune and Said Soma. So that should be a good one. Tyrell Fortune, a major favorite, almost a minus 1,000. And definitely going with Corey Anderson to win the main event. If you're taking Melvin Manhoff, you're praying that he connects on the chin and is able to get a knockout. I know that he's won 2 MMA bouts in a row. He also won a kickboxing bout before that. But who are the guys that he actually beat? And he has a hard time winning bouts. He's lost mixed martial arts bouts to Joe Schilling. Joe Schilling is a very dangerous kickboxer, but I don't know about that. But guess what, guys? We got Kevin Croom here, so I'm going to bring him in. What's up, Kevin?
What's going on?
Not much, man. Just hanging out, getting the show started. We got the Bellator fights going. We're happy that you're joining us.
Hell yeah, man, for sure. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem, man. And how's everything going with you? Obviously, I want to let everybody know, I was talking about it earlier, but you're coming off a major, major victory. And how's everything going?
Shoot, man, it's spectacular, man. Everything's about as good as it could be,
Yeah. Yeah, and for anyone that's sleeping under a rock, obviously Kevin Croom made his UFC debut against Roosevelt Roberts and hurt him bad on the feet in the first round and ended up pulling off a guillotine, like a standing guillotine. And obviously that had to be a crazy experience, man, huh?
Man, absolutely wild,
Yeah. Yeah, man. And Roosevelt Roberts is a tough customer too, man. Roosevelt Roberts, I grew up in the same county as him over here, Broward County in South Florida. And I know he's a talented dude, man, and you didn't even give him a chance to showcase any of the skills he's got, man. You just put it on him quick.
Yeah, man. Obviously, I know he's tough. I was expecting a tough fight. I was expecting a war. My coach, when I asked him about the fight, he just kind of looked at me and he was like, "Well, it's not going to be your toughest fight." And he was right.
Yeah.
But, we were expecting, a knockdown drag out event, and yeah, man, shit, what a way to debut.
Well, we'll circle back to that fight. So you've had 34 professional fights. Going into that fight, you were quite the underdog, and it's kind of been a similar story that we've been seeing recently. I believe he's a teammate of yours too, Derek Minner. We had him on the show last week, and it seems I'm curious your thoughts upon this. It seems like we've been kind of noticing that there's been I don't know. I don't want to say disrespect, but sometimes we're kind of sleeping on guys that have been so battle tested, like you, Derek Minner, when they're taking on these guys that only have a couple professional fights and people are high in them quickly. You know what I mean? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's easy to look good when everything's going your way. You know, it's easy to look good when you have the fights, man. But the people who have been up and down and knocked all around and are still there, man, like, watch out for them. You know, for sure. I mean, like there are some people who just have had an easier road, you know, for whatever reason, make smarter decisions, have better coaching, have better people protecting them. You know what I mean? Just made better decisions. I didn't make any good decisions. I just wanted to fight everybody I could, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, it gave me a kind of a crappy record, but I mean, I got so much experience that like, you can't buy this shit, you know? Like,
yeah.
You know?
Let me ask you this, like going into that fight, like all the experience that you had going into that fight, what were your nerves feeling like stepping into the octagon the first time?
No, man. I mean, I was good. Like I was meant to be there, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I was finally home. Like,
yeah.
For real.
That's awesome. See, and I would assume that, you know, I wouldn't know, but I'm assuming that just all that experience you had definitely correlates to that. You know what I mean? Just being in all those battles and everything, and you know that's awesome.
Yeah.
And you're trained by James Krause, right? James Krause.
Yeah.
I had the pleasure of having him on this show too. I'm really high on him. I think he's one of the best MMA coaches in the game, for sure.
I think the world of him. He's a spectacular human being, and I mean, like honestly, a role model of mine. I'm just trying to be like him for real. You know, he's really intelligent, a great fighter, a good businessman. You know.
How long have you been linked up with him? How long has he been training you?
So, I mean, I've known James. We grew up close to each other. So, I mean, we've known each other since our amateur careers. You trained off and on together. But I moved back to Kansas City like 4 years ago. So about 4 years, 3.5, 4 years.
Okay. Yeah, it's a good amount of time, man.
Yeah,
Missouri, man. Missouri's a tough area, man. A lot of tough fighters coming out of those neck of the woods, right? In the middle of the country.
Yeah, man.
Definitely.
Definitely some tough fucking people, man, for sure.
Yeah. What was it like growing up over there as a kid, man, going to middle school, high school? What was it like for Kevin Croom? What was your childhood life like going to school? Maybe in regards to like fighting, you know, were you a fighter in school? Like,
yeah. I fought for sure. I've always liked it. I've always been a scrapper. I've always like wanted to, you know, roughhouse, play around, fight, you know. So yeah, man, I mean, I was pretty wild for sure. Definitely got in a lot of fights. So like, yeah, I mean, I just love the way this has all worked out. Like, you know, in Talladega Nights where he's like, remember those kids who made fun of us for playing with cars at school? It's like, who's the retards now? Yeah. I feel like that. Like, I've been just trying to do ninja shit and fight people and fuck around my whole life. And then, you know, it's like, who's retarded now? Like, I'm made.
Hey, it all worked out, right, man? You're on the biggest stage in regards to fighting, man. And really in combat sports, man, you're in the biggest stage, and it's all sitting right in front of you right now, too, man. Coming off that win, it's all sitting in front of you. It's awesome, right? It's exciting.
I'm about to take it.
Dude, you know, I feel your excitement right now too, man. Just I was rewatching that Roosevelt Roberts fight, and I was playing some I forget the name of that song, Depeche, whatever, some crazy song that popped up. But I was like, you know what, I'm gonna play this in the background and I'm gonna watch this fight. It got me pumped up, man. Really, you know, just seeing your reaction. You know, at first it seemed like when you knocked him out, James Krause and them were saying, and I think it was Grant Dawson or somebody, they were saying something to you, and you were kind of like almost in a state of shock or something. You were kind of still for a minute, and then you know you gave that roar. What were you thinking? What were you thinking when you were like, froze up for a minute?
Yeah, man. Like everybody says, like it was like I was in disbelief or whatever, but no, like the killer wasn't done yet. Like the killer had been prepared to come out to go to war, and he just got off easy, and so he's just looking at James like, who the fuck's next? Let's go.
Yeah,
and then finally, the killer, that switch turned off, and then I'm like, oh fuck, you know what I mean? But yeah, like no, it wasn't. I knew what the fuck happened. I wasn't surprised. I was just ready for war still, you know.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of fighters say that when they get those quick finishes, it's like they still want to go battle it up, right? It's like you didn't get to get it out of you.
I was the most locked in I've ever been. You know what I mean? Like you said, man, I've had a million fights. I was more locked in, more dialed in, more ready, more present than I've ever been. And like, I mean, I could have fought about 4 more people.
That's awesome. So moving forward now, is there anybody that's on that you have in your sights? Is there any? I know there was some talk about Bruce Leroy. You were supposed to be matched up with him initially.
Yeah, man. I would love to fight. I'd love to fight him. I think that's a fight that the fans win. I think that's a really good idea for everybody. However, man, I like to make a little bit more money first. Like, I mean, he's been in the game for a while. He's making good money. You know, I mean, I would expect. I don't know what his contract is, but he's been in the game for. He's been in the UFC for like 7-8 years, something like that.
Yeah.
I would imagine that he is making good money, and so I'd like to get through my first contract or whatever, renegotiate, make a little bit more money. But that's definitely a fight I'm looking for. I think that's a banger. I think our personalities play well off each other. I think our fighting styles play well. I think the fans win in that fight. So for sure, I mean, that's definitely one. But I don't know. I mean, I don't have any names for real. I don't know how many interviews I've been in and people have asked me, and I should get some names. But honestly, that's like not my job. That's not what I do. I train and prepare. I let my coach handle everything. You know, they tell me what to do, and that's cool. I used to like focus on the other fighter a lot, I feel like, and I got too wrapped up in my head thinking about somebody else. So now I just kind of try to focus on me 100%. I try to be the best Kevin Croom every day, and then I let my coaches worry about the when and the where and the what and the hey, how we're going to do it. I just listen to James, you know?
Yeah. Smart man. That's a good guy to listen to there.
So, man, I'll fight anybody. I give no fucks. Let's go.
Yeah,
and like,
there we go.
The thing is, like, I don't care. Obviously, I take a fight a weight class up on a day's notice. I don't give a fuck. Let's go.
Yeah. And, you know, I remember hearing that, like, you know, you were kind of balancing, you know, working side jobs, doing construction and whatnot. Are you still doing any of that stuff? Or are you pretty much 100% focused right now on fighting? I mean, what's going on with that?
Yeah, man. I mean, I enjoy working hard. So I have still been, I maybe worked like maybe 10 hours in the last month and a half. So
oh, that's not bad.
That's nothing. You know, that's nothing. I'm literally doing it because I like to do it. You know, like it's a nice day out. I can work outside and like I enjoy doing it, but like no. So like just to mess around, you know, like obviously, yeah, I'm pretty focused, and that's the beauty of it, and that's why I want to do it every now and then, because when you don't have to do it, it could be enjoyable, you know.
Yeah.
When you have to leave the gym and go to work, no, man, fuck that.
Exactly. No, I hear you 100% on that. And you know, I will say this, man, like just to touch upon that again, coming off that big win, obviously you got to keep the momentum going, you got to keep pulling off victories. But in my opinion, and I think this is an opinion of a good amount of fans out there, I feel like that you have potential to be a I don't know how I would say this, man, kind of like a you know, a personality in the game, right? No matter what your skills you bring to the table, but you know, there's some fighters that have that personality that the fans cling to, and I think that's a good thing. You know, like the Cowboy Cerrones, you know, those types of guys. And
you just said what I've been saying for years, man. You know what I mean? Like, for sure, I got it. I got it. I don't know what it is, but I know that I have it, and I can fight too. So let's go.
Yeah. That's what it's all about. Let's see, man. What else we got here? So I caught a fight that you threw down with Charles Bennett. What was that experience like, man? I was a big fan of his. I guess I could say fan. I mean, the guy's interesting. You know, I've been interested in him for years. Crazy horse.
Yeah, man. I'm a fan of his antics.
Yeah,
for sure. Like, I mean, he's a wild guy. Man, it was just about as good as you could imagine it being. Like, being a fan of his. You know, like I've been a fan of his crazy shit forever. He was crazy. You know what I mean? Like, the whole time at weigh-ins, he did silly shit. He, like, coached me through fighting him. Like, James would say something and he would repeat what James said. Like, it was silly, you know? Like, yeah, man, it was wild.
He's a wild dude. It was fun.
Yeah, dude, he is wild.
Yeah.
For sure.
And, you know, I wanted to talk about this real quick, too, with you. Grant, I heard a story that you talked about like, you know, some of the tough times that you were going through, right? Throughout your long career, and having a guy that you were brushing shoulders with in Grant Dawson, a guy that I'm really high on. I think that guy's amazing. He has potential to be a champion. And some of the things that he said to you about how he had faith in you, man. Keep your nose, keep grinding, and he expects big things, man. But what's it like being able to brush shoulders? We talked about James Krause, but guys like Grant Dawson as well.
Yeah, man. I've been in the game for a long time. I've been around a lot of really big name fighters. I used to train at Jackson's. I've been around man, like Grant Dawson's Grant and James, Grant's just a kind of a little James. Like, he's obviously his protege is his protege is his little mini me, but man, he's spectacular. Nobody trains like that kid. That kid competes every day. Once again, I've trained with some of the best people in the world, and that kid, nobody works me over like that kid. Like, every fucking day. Even when I'm doing good, I'm not doing that good. The kid's great, man. He's really good. His mentality, he's a great coach too. And man, really, honestly, just I know this, whatever, man. Like, becoming close friends with him has changed my life. Working with him every day in the gym and being around that, man, definitely changed my life. Give me a lot more confidence in fighting. Him believing in me and helping me has honestly meant the world to me. So I can't say enough good things about him.
Yeah, they say
sure he's gonna be a champ soon.
I think so, man. He definitely has the potential. And they say birds of a feather flock together, right? So it's good having company like that, man.
Oh, bro, we got some fucking killers, man.
Yeah. All right, how about this? I'm gonna give you a couple some quick questions. You could just answer these with like one word, quick responses. All right.
All right.
Dream matchup for you. And it could be any time, any era, any fighter ever.
Geeky Sudo.
Okay.
I don't know if that's a dream matchup for me, but that's who I want to fight.
Let's see. Warm or cold weather?
Warm.
Warm weather. Would you rather have a knockout or a submission?
Man, okay, I know this isn't a one-word answer for sure, but I want both. And the way I just did it, I bet
you did both.
You know what I mean? Because there's nothing like fucking dropping somebody. There's nothing like that. But then there's also nothing like having a grown man submit to your will. You know what I mean? Like, when a grown man fucking taps out, that shit's amazing. However, so give me both.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's a good way to put it, And just to touch upon that real quick too, it's true, man. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. When you're able to drop somebody, you get off, a nice crisp shot, and then you get the submission. It's the best of both worlds, right? That's what you did. That's what you did in your day.
It's the cleanest. Man, people like me and probably him, are just tough. We're used to getting hit. And shit, a lot of times you hit me, that fucking wakes me back up. I've had people almost knocked out, and then I hit them again, and they came back too. So it's easy. It's easy to snatch the submission. I feel like that's just the easiest money there is. You know what I mean? You drop them, boom, the neck's right there. And no matter how good they are, if they just got dropped, they're losing a belt slot. You know what I mean? Every time you get hit, you drop a belt, right? So
almost like a Shogun Rua versus Dan Henderson the first time. Remember, speaking of getting hit and waking up, those guys get hit, they're waking up from shots. Crazy.
Yeah, man, dude, and everybody's so tough. We can all take a beating. I'll take a beating for a few rounds. Who knows? Maybe I could have finished him. Maybe I could have got a few good shots on him. But that neck was there, so it's just easy money. Why go away from that?
Yeah, you have to. Let's see. How about favorite cheat meal?
Cheeseburger, French fries, milkshake.
That sounds good. We got a question from one of the fans. We got Eric over here. Eric says, "What's your favorite submission?"
Man, I'll tell you what. That fucking ninja choke just won me 50 G's, so I'm gonna go with that. You know what I mean? That's by far my favorite.
Yeah. Did you ever get a chance to cash out that 50 G's and throw it up in your room?
No, man.
Yeah.
So okay, so I want to do that, and like I just got it, so I still can do that. However, I was talking to James, and James told me if I cash that money out and then deposit it, the IRS is going to hit me like with the audit. And like,
Oh, crap.
I mean, I don't think that that's like a really big deal because like it's never like. But I don't know. I'm gonna see. I'm gonna see what's up. I want to. Bro, I just want to hold it. You know what I mean? Like, let me just touch it. But
50 G's, baby. Yeah, man. But you don't want to mess with the IRS, man.
Exactly.
I hear James.
Yeah, I don't want to. Like right now, that wouldn't be anything. Like, well, I made like $18,000 last year. Like, however, in the future, you know what I mean? Like, let's just keep their eyes on their own paper.
I mean, that's a good chunk of money there, man. 50 G's. Like, what are you planning on spending that on? I heard some talks about a house. What do you spend money on like that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, man, I am trying to have this set my life up. You know, like I've waited for this. I've been expecting this. You know, like all this time that I've been training, I knew that this could happen, and I knew it could happen like this. Man, I'm a bonus machine. Like, I'm a fighter. Let's go. Like, people want to see that shit. So I've always known this could happen. So, man, I've been planning for it. And yeah, man, I'm gonna have it set my life up, man. I'm gonna invest well, and I'm gonna have a little fun too, though. Yeah,
you got it, man. You got it. And let's see, man. I got one more question for you, and then I don't want to keep you too long, but I got one question for you too. Also, growing up when you were getting into MMA, was there anybody that you kind of idolized or you kind of looked up to? You try to model your game around. I know James Krause you talk about now, but maybe like way back in the day when you were a youngster.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about trying to model around. I mean, I love Anderson Silva. You know, like I mean, I really like GSP too. Like when I started, like they were, you know, the biggest names in the bit. You know what I mean? Like fucking back in 2007, GSP was where it's at. I don't know if I try to model my career off that. I mean, I probably didn't because I would have gotten hit a lot less.
Yeah.
But no, like I don't know if I've ever tried to model my career. Obviously, I see people do stuff and I'm like, oh shit, I want to do that. But not like no.
No one in particular. Really. I got you. Yeah, it's cool. Keeping it real, man, for sure. Cool stuff. Yeah, man. So you want to let everybody know where they can find you on social media and whatnot?
Heck yeah, man. Instagram, Twitter, Kevin Croom _UFC. Hit me up, man. I got some stuff in the works. I'm about doing a vlog and my own podcast and stuff like that. Nothing really out yet, but Instagram and Twitter, you can find out there.
Hell yeah. There we go. Everyone go give him a follow. And we'll be definitely paying attention to see who they match you up with next. We're all going to be tuned in. You know, we'll have the popcorn ready. And obviously we'll know to make sure we have our seat ready quick because it might be over pretty quick with you, man, the way you're finishing fights over there. So
don't blink.
Yeah, man. Well, I appreciate you giving me.
Yeah, I appreciate your time, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Anytime you want to come on, man, you got an open platform here. So if you get the podcast going or anything like that, you want to come hop on, let everybody know, man. Anytime, brother.
Hell yeah, man. I appreciate you. Thanks.
All right, bro. Take care.
All right, yeah, man. Have a good one.
You too. Kevin Croom. Yeah, man, that guy, he made his UFC debut, man, against Roosevelt Roberts, man, and he sparked Roosevelt, man. He dropped him, pulled off the submission on him, man. What a way to make your UFC debut, man. Got 50 G's, got a bonus there. And, I mean, really, can you even – I mean, how many guys can say that they did that in their UFC debut? I mean, of course, there's been other guys that have done that, but, I mean, going through all the wars that he's been through, being in the game for as long as he had, and then getting that UFC debut, that chance, and then capitalizing on that opportunity the way that he did, that was one of the more special moments in the MMA game, in my opinion. So, it was really cool to have him on the show, man, because I remember just seeing that whole thing take place and just rewatching that fight and just kind of taking that all in, man. That was a special moment in the fight world. And very excited to see who they match him up against next. And he's a very well-rounded fighter as well. Very well-rounded. Gaethje. Yeah, I didn't really understand what you meant there, brother. I saw you asking, what about Gaethje as a debut fight? I thought you were saying to ask him if he was fighting Gaethje. And, I don't think he was fighting Justin Gaethje for a debut fight. But, Gaethje's debut was Kevin. Oh, I see what you're saying. So these guys actually fought back in the day, huh? I don't see that. I think I see what you're trying to say. You're talking about Kevin Croom. Why was his debut turned into a no contest? Yeah, so if you look at Tapology, yes, I guess technically it was turned into a no contest, but really nobody's paid that any mind. I think that was actually a marijuana thing, I believe. And I don't want to speak out of terms if I'm wrong on that, but I think that's what that was. I think it was a marijuana situation. So I mean, it's a bunch of BS. Even he won that fight. I mean, a win's a win. He got his bonus, and he's getting his momentum's rolling right now, and that's pretty much what's going on with that. Checking over on the Bellator match. I think we got Teller fighting over here, or Fortune, not Teller. We got Fortune throwing down. Wasn't really watching too much, so I'll try to catch up with that. Definitely want to recap this Dana White's Contender Series from last night. So give me 1 second. I'm going to pull that card up here. If you guys didn't get a chance to catch it, highly recommend that you do, man. There's some guys coming off that show last night that are going to be some legit contenders moving forward. I'm letting you guys know that right now. In particularly Carlos Olberg, and but we'll work our way up. So we'll start from the bottom. And in the first fight, we had some big boys throwing down. Jared Vandera, who defeated Harry Hunsucker, and that guy Jared, man, looked pretty good, man. He looked good in that fight. Was able to finish the fight in the first round. You know, good grappling, good power in his hands, and actually seems like quite the character. If you saw his post-interview speech, you know, he has that dry humor. So we'll see where his career goes. He's calling out names already, man, calling out big names. I think he was calling out Sergey Pavlovich. So I mean, he's calling out, you know, legit UFC fighters. This guy's tough. In the next fight, we had, you know, this is where you're starting to see some real talent. I mean, but throughout this entire card, but this guy, Luis Saldana, he took his time in this fight, but was really stringing off some beautiful combinations against Vince Murdoch. Vince Murdoch, to me, seemed very much undersized, you know, really a stocky guy. I put a little joke on my Instagram story about how he had a victory. Actually, let's see if I can pull it up here for you. It's kind of a weird situation that went down, but it's kind of funny when you see it on paper. He had a victory against Vakis Dahaya. He won that fight due to groin strikes. So you don't typically see that. But either way, man, he got finished last night, man. He got finished in the third round. Luis Saldana hit him with the front kick, and then was able to finish him up there. That was one of two front kicks that we saw on the night, which brings us to the co-main event. And this is a guy you guys definitely want to pay attention to, man. This guy, Ignacio Bahamendez, this guy fighting out of Chile. This is a kid that he came out of the hospital, literally came out of the hospital wearing a gi. This dude, man. His dad was a long time, I think he was a Kempo or some type of karate kickboxer, mixed martial artist. And, you know, this kid, like I said, you know, when he was coming out of the hospital, he was already wearing like a gi. I mean, this kid was born and raised in the fight game, and you could tell this kid is so smooth on the feet. He has his own type of style. It's not that type of style where, you know, we're talking about some explosive, you know, really tight, you know, crisp, you know, Mike Tyson type of striker. I know that's kind of pushing it, saying Mike Tyson, but you guys catch my drift. You know, he's not really tight throwing these big, heavy power shots. He's very fluid. He's kind of unorthodox. You know, he switches stance a little bit. He has this funky little style, but you can tell that he's extremely comfortable on the feet. Like I said, he's been doing it his entire life. So, and he's only 23 years old, and basically he was starting to put it on his opponent, and his opponent Edson Gomez started to drop to. Yeah, he kind of was like shelling up, leaning forward, and then that's where Ignacio just whipped the front kick, and just that was too much for him. And I'll tell you what, his opponent was actually a very tough customer, but another undersized opponent, another undersized tough dude, and Edson Gomez, kind of like Vince Murdoch. Edson Gomez, though, is a guy that had some real power, and he landed on Ignacio too. So Ignacio was also able to show that he's, you know, he has that young virgin chin, only 23 years old, and that he could take a shot because he ate some shots early and was very comfortable there. This is a kid I expect big things from. I really do. I can imagine seeing this kid's career right about the time when he's 28 years old and he's doing some real stuff. I mean, these are career fighters here. Now, in the main event, we had Carlos Olberg, who took on Bruno Oliveira. That dude, Bruno, was a tough customer, man. He was bringing the fight. He was more of a boxing-based fighter. Carlos Olberg, training over there at City Kickboxing, you know, down over there, down under. And he looked very good. He was very patient in there, very technical. Bruno was bringing the fight to him. Carlos was very calm, you know, took his time with it. And it was hilarious, you know, from my point of view, because I saw that knockout coming from a mile away. I literally said, this guy Oliveira is just, he's a tough dude. He's coming right into the fire, but Oldberg's going to knock him out. It was so obvious that it was coming. You can't just walk into a buzzsaw like that with the way his chin was up too. His guard was down a little bit. The chin was up, and I saw that coming from a mile away. And of course, Oldberg, hurt him on the feet, dropped him and finished him. And Oldberg, he's boys with all the dudes over there at City Kickboxing, the cream of the crop, the Israel Adesanyas, Israel Adesanya and Brad Riddell. I mean, we're talking about some legit fighters. So yeah, the Baja Mendez KO was nasty. And so yeah, man, I will say this much. I would say that last night's card is up there. I was going to say it's pretty much one of the better ones we've seen, but you know what, man, running the tape back in my head, there's been some really, really good events that we've seen. And we've seen some cards where there's been a lot of top talent. I feel like that's came out of the show, but last night, I think it's right up there with any of them between Baja Mendez and Oldberg right there. Those are two customers that are going to be in the UFC game for quite some time. I think getting knockouts, and Saldana too looked good. I think that's a kid that's putting it together that can definitely string off some victories. We'll see how he is overall when he's tested against some higher level competition. But Ignacio and Carlos, those are guys that are definitely going to be able to stand the test. At the top of the game, I really believe that, in the UFC. And again, though, Ignacio, 23 years old, so we might see some growing pains from him. He was able to stuff the takedown very good against Edson Gomez. He looks like he has some very good takedown defense, but again, the UFC is a whole different type of game. He's going to be getting matched up against some killers, some top tier wrestlers, and we'll see how he hangs, through all that. But again, 23 years old. So, like I said, we'll see some growing pains from the kid, but by the time he's 26, 27, 28, these are the type of fighters you got to keep an eye on. And, yeah, Luis Saldana looked like Sugar Sean, real deal. Yeah. So some similarities there, man. Very, very crisp with the striking, very technical, very rangy. He flows, and how he goes to the body is a thing of beauty for a 23-year-old fighter. Joey W., I agree, man, a lot there. I definitely agree with you, man. Working the body nicely. Gomez was leaving that body open, and, Ignacio is definitely capitalizing on that. So, and that will wrap up the recap of the Contender show. And what else? I guess we're gonna touch upon this weekend's UFC card. We gotta look a little bit deeper into that fight card here. Give me 1 second. I'll pull it up. And as you guys know, of course, my official breakdown video has been out to you guys, but we got to touch upon. We also have a new fight too. Gustavo Lopez taking on Anthony Burchak. So we got a nice little matchup here that the UFC added to the card. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with Anthony Burchak's been around the block for quite some time. I kind of have a special place for him in my heart because I remember watching him way back in the day when he was one of the more, one of the initial more talented flyweight fighters back in the day. I remember him taking on guys like Ryan Benoit and, watching them on HDNet fights and saying, these guys are definitely UFC caliber fighters. We've since seen them both fight in the UFC. Anthony Burchak had a little stint there. He moved up to bantamweight, and he had a little bit of a tough time, and was since he's since departed. But now he's getting another opportunity, taking on Gustavo Lopez. We saw Gustavo Lopez get pretty much beat down, by the tough Georgian fighter Merab Davashvili. And but again, Davashvili, you guys know how I feel about him. I've gone in on him, made some official plays, some big money on him. I think he's as legit as it comes. I think he's going to be a true threat to many guys in the division. He's like a little miniature Khabib. He can grapple, he can strike. And so that was a really tough, debut for the guy. The UFC is trying to make it up to him a little bit. The UFC is giving him another opportunity here. Gustavo Lopez is an entertaining fighter to watch. If you watch his fights in the regional scene, he's willing to exchange. He's willing to put on a fun fight. Has a little bit of power in the hands. He's decently well-rounded. We'll see how his career progresses if he's really UFC caliber. But getting a chance against Anthony Burchak, he definitely has a chance to win this fight. I'm on Anthony Burchak, though. like I said, man, Anthony, I've been watching this guy fight for a long time. I think he's a very well-rounded fighter, good striking, good submission skills. This guy can definitely sub you. Take a look at what he's been doing. 15-6. I know he's had some kickboxing bouts. He's 34 years old now, which is crazy to think. I had a couple of grappling bouts as well. Yeah, good submission skills. And yeah, he had a tough go, man. Ever since he made his UFC debut, he lost to Ian Entwistle. It's a fight he probably should have won, man. Got heel hooked there. Did take out Joe Soto. We thought things were back on track. Then he lost to Thomas Almeida. Won against Danilo Lopez, which was a close fight. And then he had a tough outing after he went over to Ryzen. 3 losses in a row, some close decisions. But you know how it is, man, fighting over on that scene. You're fighting these hometown guys over there. Split decisions. Run the tape back on those fights and see who you really had winning those fights. Because it's tough to win over there sometimes, when those fights are close. Good luck getting those fights to go your way. So since then, all W's here, including his grappling bouts. And this guy has nasty submission skills, like I said. And yeah, I'm taking Burchek. Taking Burchek to win the fight, possibly maybe even by a submission. But most likely probably a decision there. Merab is the dark horse. Definitely agree with you, man. He is definitely a dark horse of the division. People need to respect him and understand he brings, some real threats to the division. I know a fight that a lot of people wanted to see was, Merab versus Sean O'Malley. I don't know if the UFC will ever do that at this point. I think they want to get Sean O'Malley back in the win column. I don't know if we want to see how the grappling exchanges go with that. And looks like the main event is creeping up on us over here for the Bellator event that they got going on. They're doing them Thursday nights now. And I touched upon that earlier, but I do think Corey Anderson will win this fight. Corey Anderson will avoid the knockout, and Corey Anderson will be able to cruise to a decision there. You guys know what Corey Anderson does. For the most part, we've seen him knock out some guys, but for the most part, pitter patter, good wrestling, good cardio. He was able to catch Johnny Walker, but I wouldn't bank on that happening. But again, Melvin Manhoff is a guy that his chin is so deteriorated that there's definitely a possibility he gets a knockout. So I shouldn't say that, but I think the decision may be a safer route if he's working the grappling a little bit. And yeah, is there any other fights that you guys want me to talk about in depth? I got the card pulled up. If there's some fights you guys want me to talk more about, and particularly, I'll bring them up. I'm excited about this Ian Heinisch versus Brendan Allen fight. Let's say that much too. It's definitely a matchup of two guys that have a lot of momentum, moving. I mean, Ian Heinisch is coming off the one nasty victory against Gerald Meerschaert. He did lose 2 fights before that, but put things back on track with that victory against Gerald. And this was a guy that people were initially very high on. And he's 32 years old, so the time is now. Brendan Allen, only 24 years old. Crazy to think, 24 years old, and this kid is a stud. He's going to be more rangy in there, has a 5-inch reach advantage. He's bigger, he's taller. I like his jiu-jitsu game, and I think that he'll be a little bit more nimble and fluid on the feet as well. But Ian is a tough customer. Ian Heinisch, man, the Brazilian killer, taking out Antonio Carlos Jr., Cesar Ferreira. I capitalized on both those fights and got him at underdog odds. So Ian Heinisch, I always got respect for Ian as well. It's just that I like this guy, Brendan Allen. I think he's the truth. Let's talk dogs on this card. Bruce K.O. wants to talk about some dogs. All right, so if you want to talk dogs, I think we know where the dogs would be. If you're looking at dogs, definitely Ramiz Brahimaj. I mean, this guy is definitely a live dog. We take a look at the line where it's at now. Because I know some money. Money's still coming in on him. He's a plus 115 now, but you could have grabbed him initially, plus 160, plus 150. You watch him on tape. This guy is a legit BJJ practitioner, has some legit BJJ skills. So he can easily get a sub here if he's able to play around in the ground, or if he could hurt Max to get this fight down to the mat. You can see him pull off a sub. And I'm actually quite surprised that he's the dog going into that fight. At least I was surprised to see where the line was. Max Griffin. Max Griffin is a guy that you guys know I'm not extremely high on. He's a big boy. He has a big frame for the weight class. We've seen him at times put it together. We saw him put a game plan against Mike Perry. He was able to go in there and implement that, that game plan and pull off a victory. But other than that, the Thiago Alves fight, he lost to Thiago Alves. He was just hanging on for dear life, hanging on Thiago Alves' legs. Probably should have won that fight, but still such a lackluster performance, and he didn't look good there. The Zelim Amadaev fight, we've slowly but surely saw that Zelim Amadaev is really not on the level, if you ask me. I think that guy is maybe going to get one more opportunity. If he loses there, he's cut. Zelim has all that energy outside the octagon and brings some things to the table, but, you know, that's not really that big of a victory. And then he goes out there and he loses 2 fights, loses to Alex Morono and Alex Oliveira, 2 capable opponents, but still, you got to win fights, man. I think this guy Ramiz I think this guy has some skills, and I don't see why he can't come in and pull off a victory there. So there's one dog, a dog that I picked. Eduardo Grigori. I think that Eduardo Grigori is definitely live to win that fight. I think it's a close fight. I do think that Darren Elkins can use his wrestling to win this fight quite easily if he's able to implement that game plan. But if he's not able to do that, I think Eduardo Grigori can win some of the striking exchanges. I think he'll be a little bit more quick in there, a little bit more agile, more athletic. And Darren Elkins is a guy 36 years old, 36 and a half years old, and he's been through some wars. And sometimes he looks like he's like a Frankenstein. I say he looks like he's a guy he almost looks like he's handicapped at times. Remember the Ryan Hall fight? Speaking of Ryan Hall, 50-50 Ryan Hall, he's actually finally has a match. Excited to see that. But remember Ryan Hall was picking Darren Elkins apart there. Of course, he lost to Volkanovski, but Ricardo Lamas is a stud too. The Ryan Hall loss, and then the Nate Landwehr fight. That was a fight, if you're really on the level, you should have went out there and won that fight. I actually played Nate Landwehr. That was an official play. I think it was like a 2.5 or a 3-unit play, but Eduardo Grigori's live. There's another dog talking dogs. Oh, so Zelim did get cut. Patrick Osweiler says Zelim got cut. Ooh, talking dogs. I'm shocked Dustin Poirier is a dog in that McGregor fight. I'm not shocked. I get what you're saying, though, but McGregor won the first time around, knocked him out early. I know it's a different fight now. A lot of time has passed. It's in the lightweight division. Conor McGregor, if he doesn't get a knockout early, I think obviously it's going to be a tough fight for him. I think there's the possibility he does get a knockout, which love him or hate him, you cannot deny the power there from McGregor. Man, McGregor does go out there and get knockouts left and right. I think that people are pretty much disrespecting McGregor, man. I want to talk about that here for a second. When you think of McGregor right now, right, you probably have that taste in your mouth like McGregor. McGregor really hasn't done anything recently or this and that. McGregor, he's a loser. He just lost his last fight. Look who the guy lost to, man. He lost to Khabib Nurmagomedov. Khabib, in my opinion, is the GOAT. He's the best pound-for-pound fighter. We saw what he just went out there and did to Justin Gaethje. At least Conor McGregor was able to withstand, the early onslaught. He was able to eke out a round, from Khabib. Not a lot of people can say they did that. I'm just going to say this much. Do not sleep on Conor McGregor's skills, man. That guy is nasty, and he puts his mind to something, man. He's a superior athlete. That guy is something else. So don't be surprised if he comes right back to the table. He goes in there and he takes Dustin out. The Cowboy Cerrone fight, I get it. You guys know the deal with Cowboy. He could be flaky at times, but let's not take it away from him either. He went in there, finished that fight quickly. Connor's dangerous, man. Connor's a dangerous fighter. And I don't know, man. So I'm just saying this much. I'm not necessarily surprised that that Connor's the favorite there, especially being that he won the first time around. So let's see what else. Motivated McGregor is dangerous, and I think he is motivated, man. I'm higher on the Landwehr than most. He fought some good competition in M1, and he always brings a show and fights for your money. Nate the Train. Hey, I mean, listen, he came through for me, right? He came through. He made some money for me. That was an official play of mine. I thought that he definitely had some holes in his game. In that fight, he made some mistakes where he let that fight play out a lot closer than it needed to be. That was a very entertaining fight. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you, man. Nate the Train. I think he's an entertaining fighter, and I'm on that train as well. I like watching the guy fight, but in the right matchups, I'll be honest with you guys, I will not hesitate to fade him in the right matchups. And just keeping it real with you there. But, I'll take him against a guy in Darren Elkins. Okay, yeah. I just don't think Dustin has great cardio. I just think Dustin has great cardio and can submit him. Yeah, I agree with you. That's the thing, man. That's what I was saying, too. When the fight goes to the later rounds, Dustin Poirier, he thrives in those later rounds, and it seems like he actually gets better as the fight goes on. And we've seen Conor McGregor kind of flake out in those later rounds too, right? So that's definitely a possibility that Conor McGregor, starts to get beat up in the fourth and the fifth and possibly gets finished there. We obviously, the Nate Diaz fights, even the fight that he won, he had that little bump in the road there in the later rounds. Dustin Poirier is not Nate Diaz. No disrespect to the Nate Diaz fans, but I think Dustin Poirier is a better fighter than Nate Diaz. I think Dustin would whoop Nate. That's how I feel about that. And I'm a big Diaz fan too. I like both the Diaz brothers, but I'm just being real with you guys. Dustin Poirier is a legit, well-rounded fighter. I shouldn't say it like that. Nate Diaz is a legit, well-rounded fighter too, but Dustin Poirier just has a little bit more pop in his punches. I think he gets stuff to take down a little bit better. I don't know, man. Nate, I can go on and on about Nate. You saw what Jorge Masvidal did to Nate Diaz, guys. You saw that. I don't think Jorge Masvidal is doing that to Dustin Poirier. I think it's a way more closely contested match. People were talking about they want to see that rematch of Jorge Masvidal and Nate Diaz. I don't want to see that rematch. I mean, I do, but I don't. I mean, okay, yeah, it's a cool fight. Book it, but not really. The only reason why I would want to see that fight happen is because I would want to see Jorge Masvidal. I would want to capitalize and make some quick, easy money on Jorge Masvidal. We know what's going to happen in that fight if it gets rescheduled. It's going to be the same thing, and if anything, Masvidal probably gets the finish this time. Well, I mean, he had the finish last time due to a cut. Maybe this time he really finishes him, kind of like a Josh Thompson type style finish, a legit finish, which is very hard to do. Not a lot of guys can say they finished Nate Diaz like Josh Thompson did. What do we got going on with the Bellator fights? Nope. I click over to the Bellator fights, and what do you know? Corey Anderson on top, using his wrestling. Exactly, pretty much what I said, huh? Pretty much what I said. We're in the first round. Bellator still refuses to implement the five-round fights for their main events, but Melvin Manhoff, man. Remember Melvin Manhoff? You ever see him fight in his kickboxing bouts? He used to come out with the dog collar. His coach used to walk him out. I mean, he has that crazy, aggressive Dutch-style kickboxing. He's put on some entertaining fights. But, is Eric bringing up what I think he's bringing up? You talking about Khamzat Chimaev versus Leon Edwards? Is that what we're talking over here? If we're talking about that fight, we can talk about that. How do you think Santos looks after the surgeries and layoff? I don't see how he could be the same fighter we saw on his run up to the title fight after tearing all those ligaments. Thoughts? I mean, everything that I've heard, I mean, it seems like he healed up. I think he's still going to be extremely explosive. I think he's going to have the knockout power. Thiago Santos, he's a very entertaining fighter. I mean, when he puts it together, he's dangerous. We saw what he did against John Jones. I mean, he really gave John a run for his money. I don't see any reason why he can't get right back on track. The only thing I will say is I think that Thiago Santos' time was coming. I think that he was, I don't want to say overachieving, but I think that, he's a guy that goes in there, man, and he really puts it all on the line. He's dangerous. He has power. But I think, I don't forget the times where he got finished by guys like David Branch. I don't forget when he got submitted by Eric Spicely, lost to Uriah Hall, Cesar Ferreira. I know these are a long time ago too, though. And he has, I don't know. I mean, he did knock out Jan Blachowicz too. He really has resurrected his career, man. I don't know. I feel kind of iffy about him, though, man, if I'm being honest. Like I said, I still remember a lot of those fights I was talking about, and it's hard to really put him in that light when he was losing against guys like those guys in the middleweight division, and then, picturing him in the light heavyweight division. But again, he did take out Jan Blachowicz. Jan Blachowicz is the champion, so I got Khamzat all day. You have to wonder if Santos can kick like he used to. I mean, I'm trying to think of some examples that I could bring up for you guys, but there's been a couple guys that have messed up their legs pretty bad, and they're throwing some leg kicks. They were looking good. Who was the fighter that we just saw throw down? Was it last Saturday? Who was the fighter, man? He was coming off a nasty surgery. Come on, who was that? Let me think real quick. There was a fighter that just tore an ACL that just won a fight this past weekend. I don't know. The name will come to me, but either way, I'm trying to remember because that rung a bell to me. But he was looking good. He was throwing some kicks in there. I mean, we see guys rebound as long as the surgery's done right and you let it heal up. I don't see why you can't. Hey, remember Tony? No, I wasn't thinking of this one, but remember Tony Ferguson? Tony Ferguson, come on, against Anthony Pettis, he was whipping the leg kicks. You guys want my prediction on Chimaev versus Edwards? All right, so this is what I'll say. I'm on Khamzat Chimaev. I understand that Leon Edwards is an extremely well-rounded fighter, and he's a more proven fighter up until this point. But like I said, and I'm sticking to it, I'm on the Khamzat train. I think that he's legit. I think he has nasty grappling that will definitely pay dues, especially in a 5-round fight. I mean, he's going to have opportunities to get takedowns, work some ground and pound. But even if Leon can stuff a lot of takedowns, I think that Khamzat has the eraser. I think he has knockout power. And I think he has that X factor. I think that he rises to the occasion. I think that he's an extremely well-rounded fighter that just has that X factor. He's an extremely dangerous fighter, and I'm taking Khamzat in that position. Leon Edwards, in my opinion, is a very well-rounded fighter, a very good fighter, but I do feel that Leon Edwards is a little bit overhyped. I feel like people all kind of fell into that Leon Edwards is one of the best fighters in the division. He doesn't get his due. It's like everyone likes to talk about that same narrative. And it's like it grew legs from that. I mean, not to say also, again, I'll reiterate, Leon Edwards is a very good fighter. But I think that narrative kind of kept getting pushed. And everyone's like, Leon Edwards is the truth. He's the truth. I mean, Leon Edwards, I remember off the top of my head, had a very close fight with Gunnar Nelson. Did take that fight, but Gunnar Nelson, that was a close fight. I'm high on Gunnar Nelson. I just think that Khamzat is a dangerous fighter than all those types of guys. Let me pull up Leon Edwards' resume real quick. And speaking of Leon Edwards, man, what about Cage Russ too? This guy's been hasn't fought since it's been about since 2019 mid-year. It's been about a year and a half. He beat Rafael Dos Anjos. Rafael Dos Anjos has been having a tough time pulling off a victory inside the octagon. The Gunnar Nelson, that was a split decision again. That's what I was saying, a very close fight. It was a very close fight. It could have went either way. I kind of like Gunnar there, but it could have went either way. Cowboy Cerrone, you guys know the deal with that, man. Cowboy Cerrone, a lot of people can beat him too, man. Cowboy Cerrone's been having a tough time getting victories, And then what? Peter Sabata. Okay, Peter Sabata is a capable fighter, but come on, man. We're talking about Khamzat Chimaev and Peter Sabata. Brian Barberena, another tough fighter, but you saw him in his last fight, man. He went through some tough situations in that fight that he was in against a lower-level UFC fighter. The Vincent Luque fight was a good fight for him. The Albert Tumenov fight, dangerous fighters. But again, this ain't, we ain't talking about guys that are on the level of Khamzat Chimaev, in my opinion. I think Khamzat smokes RDA. I think he beats Gunnar Nelson. Gunnar Nelson can win against anybody, though. Nasty jiu-jitsu, nasty striking. I think Khamzat beats Gunnar. I think Khamzat kills Cerrone, takes out Sabata, takes out Barberena, takes out Luque. It takes out all these guys. So when you look at Leon Edwards' resume, I think in my opinion, you got to think that Khamzat Chimaev is the biggest test that he's ever had since Kamaru Usman. And the Kamaru Usman fight he lost to Claudio Silva. Claudio Silva is a very talented fighter, but James Krause just went in there and eked out a win. Let's not forget Gunnar Nelson having mount on Leon and looking great against him. Yes, exactly. That's what I'm talking about, man. I'm very high on Gunnar Nelson, by the way, too, man. When is Gunny fighting again? Ferguson is not human, though. Yes, that is true. Ferguson is cut from a different cloth. The Terminator. Ooh, well, that's how I feel about that. And yeah, so right now, Khamzat opened up as a minus 180, went to a minus 160. He's a minus 170 right now. So listen, public service announcement. If you like Khamzat, actually, no, I shouldn't say that. I was going to say jump on that line. I do not think that the line's gonna explode and drop as much as some may think that it might. I think that people are also going to respect Leon Edwards, and I think people are going to think there's some value there. I don't think the line should get out of hand too much. I don't see the line getting much crazier than like 240, 230 maybe by fight night. So you have some time to monitor that line if you don't want to have your money tied up for a long period of time. But you never know, though, man, because people are going to be buying into the hype of Khamzat at the same time. You never know. Monitor that line if you see it get out of hand. I was pretty surprised. Obviously, you guys know I had a big parlay with Khamzat Chimaev, and Khamzat, the line, how it opened up initially against Gerald Meerschaert. I thought the line was going to completely explode up to the minus 800-900s, and it did the exact opposite. People actually started betting on Gerald. They thought that he was going to be a big test for Khamzat, and he was a big dude, was up at the middleweight class. I wasn't on that at all. You guys already know, man. I had a big money in a parlay on Khamzat there, and obviously you guys know the rest is history. Khamzat shows that he has knockout power in his hands. We've seen him on the regional scene too, knocking dudes out with nasty uppercuts. I want a beer too, elbow cuff. What's up, Franco? Pour one up. Pour a beer up, baby. Let's get it. He's got the height, reach to make it really hard for Edwards to find success. I think the line is going to keep moving towards Khamzat. When it opened, Khamzat was plus 140. Where do you see that it was plus 140? I got the opposite, man. I got the line opening up on Khamzat at minus 180. It dropped down to 160, and it settled at 170. I'm curious what sportsbook you're referring to, because pretty much all the sports books I see, that's pretty much what was going on. So if you could have got plus 140, shoo. Please, Daniel, let me know where you could have got plus 140 on that, because forget it. At that line, I'm definitely taking a shot at the hype, keep going for the hype to keep going. I would throw big money on plus 140. Ferguson versus Chandler. Damn, that's the fight that needs to be made right there, man. I'll talk about that real quick. Let me let you guys know what I'm drinking. So I had a couple IPAs, man. I had this stuff called Space Dust, I think it was called. It was an IPA. It was what was it? The name of the company was like something with the E, but it's called Space Dust. It's an IPA. It was really good. And then I have a Sierra Nevada Fantastic Haze Imperial IPA, which is pretty cool. I get like the over at Costco, they got the IPA package for the Sierra Nevadas. You get like a 4-pack, a mix of 4 different kinds of IPAs. And pretty much say this, though, where it's really at is the Sierra Nevada Torpedo. That is pretty much my favorite beer, I think, of all time. And I love me some beer. I love all different kinds of beers. But Sierra Nevada Torpedo is fire. Yeah, bet the house at plus 140 all day. I mean, if you're getting that line, whether you're a believer in Khamzat or not, I mean, if you're getting a plus 140 line, I think we can all agree that you got to go in on that. I mean, that line's obviously off, in my opinion. But I'm sure there's going to be people that are going to disagree. There's some Leon Edwards fans out there, man. There's some people that are really, really big fans of Leon Edwards. I've been getting the messages. I've been getting the DMs. So I definitely do know that. But again, I don't know. I don't really see it as much as everybody else sees it. A good, well-rounded fighter is Leon. And he is on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, an 8-fight win streak. But Khamzat is also on a, obviously as an undefeated fighter, Khamzat is on a 9-fight win streak, or 8-fight win streak as well. but obviously not nearly the same level of competition. I mean, that's the whole thing, right? It's not nearly the same competition, and Khamzat has to prove himself at this point. Heist McKee, that kid's a talented fighter, but that kid, we'll see how that kid's story unravels. John Phillips, tough little Welsh boxer, but really, I don't think he has any business in the UFC at this point. Gerald Mearshart, he's a good fighter, good middleweight fighter, good crafty fighter that really just froze up like one of those deer, not deers, those sheep, those sheep that freeze up and faint. I mean, he got frozen in that fight, man. He froze up and Khamzat he doesn't freeze up, man. Khamzat's coming across and he's looking to put your lights out. Maybe plus 140 by TKO or KO. See, that sounds more like it. Exactly. The odds flipped when it opened. Seen that. Again, though, I don't know if you guys are talking about that fight. I didn't see it open at any of those lines. So I don't know where you guys saw that. Yeah, they are all in England. Maybe the England lines. Is that what you guys are talking about? Maybe the line over in England. I don't know. But, all right. Oh, I'll let you guys know this much too, man. So next weekend, it looks like I'm going to have Nick the Tooth. If you guys are familiar with Nick the Tooth. Remember Nick the Tooth from Dana White's Looking for a Fight? He was on the show initially, the first couple seasons. Him and Matt Serra had a beef. I don't know if you guys heard about the beef. You can go on YouTube. You can kind of see how that all happened. But I'm gonna bring Nick the Tooth on. He was a wild dude, and we'll get to the bottom of why he's not on the show. He was also a high school friend of Dana White's, so that'll be pretty cool, huh? If you guys have any questions, man, that's the show you guys want to come on. You guys can ask about Dana. Imagine, he went to high school with Dana White, so we'll get to know how Dana was in high school. And I think this guy will tell us everything. This guy's a cool dude. So, yeah, man, Nick the Tooth, he'll be joining us next week. And you know how it is. We'll be breaking down some more fights. We'll be talking all things MMA, everything related, and what's going on in the MMA world. Did he get frozen, or is Khamzat just that much faster? I don't know, man. A little bit of both, maybe. You gotta have head movement in there. Can't be sitting there like that, frozen up, man, backpedaling. You can't be backpedaling, because if I remember correctly, too, he was backpedaling against the cage. You can't be backpedaling against the cage just with your head still like that, man. You gotta be bobbing and weaving, man. You gotta be ready to go. Come on, you gotta respect this. You gotta respect these fighters. So, Nick the Tooth, he's nuts. Yeah, he's a wild dude, right? Licking Matt Serra's head, all that. So, yeah, man, we'll have him. We've been rolling for about an hour now. You guys already know, man, I'm going to keep coming with the show every Thursday. I didn't even watch the end of this Bellator fight, man. Let's see what's going on with it. Looks like it's over. I'm sure I know. We all know what happened. Unless I sound stupid right now, if Melvin got up and knocked him out. But I think Corey Anderson probably either finished the fight on the ground or he pulled off the decision there. But all right, guys. So this Saturday, I'll tell you guys right now, man, this is a card there's definitely opportunities to make some money on. You guys know I've been rolling hot, man. I've been rolling really hot, and I feel like this is a card that should definitely keep that momentum going. I got some major money out, major money out of my own pocket. And the thing that I'm lucky about right now, and you guys can feel me on this, when you're doing good and you got a lot of money that's been coming in, you got money to play with. So, you know what I'm saying? I got a lot of money to play with right now. I had a lot of money that came in, and I'm taking a lot of those winnings, and I'm willing to capitalize and keep the ball rolling right now, man. I'm trying to continuously be on the attack right now. That's the way I'm looking at it. And I think that this is the right card. I have 3 plays locked in right now. 3 plays, and it may possibly be a 5-play type of night. So everybody that works with me too, that gets my plays, you guys, like I said, keep looking at your DMs and your emails and whatnot. But there's either going to be another play that's coming at you guys, or possibly 2 plays, or possibly none if I decide to scratch it. But luckily, the way things are going, we have time to make that decision here. We're not in a rush in that decision as far as from what I see, and trying to see what else is coming out. And the line shouldn't be affected from what I'm seeing. I'm keeping an eye on it. And it might be a 5-play type of night. So we're talking about here, man. If anybody's interested, you guys know the deal. Truly, Mearshart is slow. How did Fortune? I think he won his fight, huh? Like I said, I've kind of been bouncing back and forth, man. I honestly wasn't too impressed with the card, man. Bellator needs to clean things up. I think Bellator needs to clean some things up. But hey, I don't complain because the more fights, the better. You know, it's more fights for us to enjoy. But I don't know, man. I feel like Bellator, you know, even with the roster they have, I haven't been extremely excited about some of the fights. So yeah, Tyrell Fortune did win a decision, and Corey Anderson finished the fight in the second round. Like I said, Melvin Manoff, you know, his chin has been deteriorated. And but yeah, I want some bigger fights from Bellator, man. You know, I will say this. You guys know how Dana White's a little bit of a hard ass at times, and Dana White's always, you know, really, really pushing the action, you know, always trying to bait these guys with bonuses. And if they have boring fights, he really makes them feel crappy about it. You see that it correlates to the UFC putting on these shows. I think that the Bellator cards have not, for the most part, have been the most exciting cards. I feel like guys are going over there that really just want to make some money. I mean, there's some guys that are trying to, you know, make a name for themselves and whatnot, but there's a lot of guys that are just trying to maintain a name for themselves and to try to make money. And I don't know, man. I was not that impressed with that main event that we had last week with Lima and Musasi. I didn't think it was the most entertaining fight, to be honest. And I think that these guys, I thought it was kind of a joke. You know, Lima was raising his hands like he won the fight when he clearly lost. It's like they were in there just joking around, making a paycheck. And obviously that would not fly with Dana White. And I think that they know that in the UFC. So it's a different ball game, man. The UFC delivers. Dana White knows how to get results. And I think that's what we see. Matt Serra versus Diego Sanchez. Coach. Oh, man. Matt Serra, bro. I met Matt Serra over at the Jack Hermanson versus Souza fight card, if you guys remember that fight card. And I got a picture with him. It's all blurry. I'll post it on my story for you guys tonight. But Matt Serra, yo, he's a cocky dude because obviously, you know, Serra could fight and Serra would whip my behind. You guys know that. Obviously, no joke. And even with my boy, I'm with my boy, but we went up in good spirits. Like, what's up, Serra? What's up? You know, we were yelling at him, and but in all good fun. You know, like, let me get a picture. I was trying to tell him how much I admire his career and everything, and he kind of gave me that energy, like, yo, wait a minute, you know, like, watch your ass, kind of like, you know, shut up, give me a minute, you know. And then he walked over all cocky and he took a picture with us, but he had that energy. I guess I would call it like that short guy energy, if you guys know what I'm saying. He did have that short man energy. Like he was ready to prove something. He was ready to let me know. He was like ready to let me know I'll whip your ass. But I wasn't even out of line. So it's really not a coincidence that you see these. I mean, obviously the guy that in that restaurant in Las Vegas where he mounted him. If you guys remember that, he mounted Serra, or Serra mounted him, and he waited for the security to come. Maybe it's not a coincidence that Serra keeps getting in these beefs with like Diego Sanchez's coach. Remember on Dana White's looking for a fight, he was always cursing people out, getting in fights with guys in the stands. He was cursing those guys out. He didn't like the way that the one guy was rooting on his teammate. And listen, I was a diehard Serra fan. I love Serra, but that guy has a little bit of short man syndrome, and I think he's a hard nosed type of dude. I think he has a chip on his shoulder, and it's funny because when I think about how the whole Matt Hughes beef with him all played out, I used to think that Matt Hughes was that type of guy, and Serra was the Italian guy, the more easygoing type of guy. I really don't think that was the case, because if you guys really know their personalities, Matt Hughes, even though he's kind of quiet, a little bit, you know, a little bland, I think Matt Hughes actually has a better sense of humor. He's a little bit more chill, I should say, not better sense of humor. He's a little bit more chill than Matt Serra. Matt Serra can bust balls and joke, but I think Matt Serra has a very short fuse. And if you don't believe me, you go on YouTube and you could see a whole YouTube, bunch of clips. They put one video together, like a montage of all these times that Serra was getting in fights with people, you know, talking crap to people, you know, being angry. So Bellator is way bigger and better in Europe. Bigger than the UFC in Europe. Come on. The best European fighters in the world fight for the UFC. So I don't know. I mean, I see what you're saying, though. I know what you're saying. They've been putting in a lot of work with the European mixed martial arts scene, for sure. They've been putting on nice events over there. You got James Gallagher. You got a couple nice young European prospects. But you don't have the best European fighters in the world. So you don't have the Jack Hermansons, the Conor McGregors, you know, the Arnold Allens, the top European fighters in the world. Who else? Who am I missing? I mean, there's a lot of studs. Look at the guy from Spain. We just saw him get another submission. What was the guy? His name slipped in my mind. The fighter from Spain. I mean, you go to each country within Europe, and the best fighter from each of those countries is pretty much fighting in the UFC, obviously. Andreas Michailidis, the Greek fighter, took a loss in his debut, had that weird situation, but he was actually supposed to be fighting in a couple of weeks, and he had to pull out. And now Eric Anders is swapping in for him there. But if you ask me, I mean, you know, you guys know the deal. The big stage is the UFC, even in Europe, I think. But I definitely get what you're saying, though, Bruce. But you know what I mean? Bellator has been putting in work with the European scene. I hear what you're saying over there. And then they have, you know, there's a lot of European fighters too in the Bellator scene. So, all right, guys, I guess I'm going to wrap up the show. I know, Green Bean Bill. That's the thing about Bellator, man. That's the thing about Bellator. They have these cards. It's always that's what I was talking about earlier, man. I've been disappointed with Bellator in a lot of different ways, and they keep having these mismatches. The lines are always so out of whack. It's like they're trying to build up fighters. It's like every match is a build up. How about we get to a point, man, where you start matching up the talent? And we do have a Bellator matchup that's coming up to you guys. Speaking of grooming the talent, we do have a nice matchup coming up. Darian the Wolf Caldwell is taking on McKee. Was it Aaron McKee? I know his dad was AJ McKee, or is it? No, he's AJ McKee, right? I forget. But you got McKee, who's a stud. I think McKee should win that fight. I think McKee. We talked about it earlier. You talk about mixed martial arts talent that you know, fighters that grew up fighting. As we talked about the young kid from Chile, Dana White's Contender Series. McKee is the same thing. I used to watch his dad, actually Anthony McKee, right? Yeah, so he's AJ McKee, Anthony Jr. Anthony McKee, I used to watch him, and that guy, I'm going to talk about a win streak. You make me pull this up right now. Let me pull this up for I head out real quick. We'll talk about the McKee boys. Let me see if I can get it. But, yo, you talk about a win streak. 1 second, guys. I'm going to pull it up real quick because this guy was on a crazy win streak. You know, what was the deal with him, too? He got his chance in the octagon. And Anthony, let's see. Yeah, so, okay, his dad was Antonio. Okay, so Antonio McKee. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to pull him up for you guys. One second, guys. Pop up the screen for you. Just to give you some background real quick. So this was Antonio McKee, who's AJ McKee's dad. And this guy was a legit fighter. I mean, look at this guy's resume back in the day, right? Let's see. I'll zoom in for you guys so you can see that a little bit better. Very well-rounded fighter. This guy was very tough. He can grapple. He could strike. And I kind of admire the fact that he has a son that he was able to groom like that. I think that's cool. Something that I definitely want to do myself. But, you know, you see this. So, you know, winning fights. You know, he goes on a stint right here. He lost to Karo Parisian. Karo Parisian, if you guys don't know about Karo Parisian was a very solid dude back in the day. Look, goes on a big winning win streak here. And then he lost to Jacob Volkman, if you guys remember him, tough Minnesota wrestler. And after he lost to Jacob, that was it. He got cut from the UFC or whatever happened. So they parted ways. But, I mean, look at this guy. This guy was handling business, man, winning fights. And then he ended up going over to did eventually make it over to Dream, where he lost to Shinya Aoki. You guys know the nasty fighter there. But he was a good fighter. And just, again, the reason why I bring him up real quick is because his son is legit. And we'll pull up his son here for you guys real quick because we got to talk about him. You would think they would have his son in here, no? Here he is, AJ McKee. So AJ McKee is now 16-0. This kid's going out there submitting, look, pulling off the armbar in Derek Campos. Didn't Derek fight tonight? I think Derek pulled off a victory tonight. Georgie Karakanian, who also pulled off a victory tonight. Split decision victory, I believe. Pat Curran, very tough fighter. the Coran brothers, Justin Lawrence, ex-UFC fighter, Blair Tugman, tough fighter. That's gonna be a nice fight right there, man. Darian Caldwell versus AJ McKee, man. So keep an eye on that. If you guys want to see some legit Bellator fights, man, that's where it's at. What else we got going on? Bellator kickboxing, not MMA. Man, Mealy cost me $750 off a $25 parlay. I blind betted this card. I'd rather miss 3 or 4 legs of a 6-leg parlay than miss by one. Yeah, I agree with you, man. It's tough when you miss that one play, man. You know what, man? Somebody sent me a DM. Somebody had a parlay that was like an 18 parlay. If you're listening, shout out to you. An 18 parlay. And guess what their one loss was? The Bobby Green fight. So that was a tough loss. I saw the bet slip, man. There's some real money there too. That was tough because a lot of people had Bobby Green winning that fight. If Bobby Green would have won that fight, not that it matters, but on paper, I like to put those perfect card selections, put those together. I like to keep some of those. Just take a look at those once in a while. And it's nice when you pick an entire card. Whether you're picking all favorites or all dogs, it doesn't make a difference because I'm telling you right now, typically you don't see all the favorites win. So you just got to pick who's winning the fights there. Thoughts on live betting? I think that live betting is legit. I've been doing it here and there. It doesn't really compare to like the amount of money that I have when I lock my bets in a week in advance. I just really can't do it the same. You know what I mean? I have the online betting sites and whatnot. I mean, I could put some good amount of money out there too, but it's not the same as dealing with cash and whatnot, making legit plays. When you have the right system down, when you're doing big plays. But you can make some fun money. You can make some fun money like that too on the live betting. And I've been flirting with that too. When we do the fight companions, that's something that I've been doing a little bit and been doing with everybody in the show. We kind of talk about how we're all feeling about the live bets, and we've had a lot of fun on the fight companion shows like that. And when we get the fight companions going again for a nice solid card, we'll be attacking the live bets together. So I do enjoy the live bets, and you can make some money there. There was the last live bet I did. I killed it. 2 of the last live bets. Who was it? We all attacked. It was a live bet, man. We all attacked it. Brad Riddell. We attacked Brad Riddell. Who else? A couple of different live bets. Yeah, no, I'm a fan though. I'm a fan of him. I'm a fan of that. What else we got? LMN, Little Man Syndrome. Corey Anderson just smashed. Israel Adesanya, weed tits. Donald Trump should have won by TKO, but Joe Biden pulled an Ed Herman with the fake nut shot. That's a good one, man. Glover by submission, maybe. If Glover's going to pull off a sub, maybe a guillotine or something like that, if he could hurt Santos in the feet first. But I think Teixeira's live in that fight. If you admire where the line is, you could have some fun there. Santos coming off the long layoff, the injury. Teixeira coming off the biggest win of his career, in my opinion. I don't know. But again, Santos should be a little bit younger, a little bit quicker, and a little bit more explosive, a little bit more fluid. Kind of edge Santos to win that fight. But value-wise, I think that the value's more so on Teixeira. That's how I'm feeling about that. And I'm definitely rooting for Glover too, man. I want to see Glover hold gold. I want to see Glover win this fight and get a title shot. But I don't think he'll ever. I don't think he'll actually be able to lift that gold belt above his head. You never know; it's possible, and I'm pulling for it. Kind of reminds me of like a light heavyweight divisions. Well, not too many similarities, but in a way, it kind of comes to my mind like a Frankie Edgar. You want to see Frankie Edgar, a true veteran of the game, work his way back up to the top. Glover, we've seen Glover fight for the belt back in the day, 2014 against John Jones. It's been a long time. All right, boys. I'm going to go finish the rest of my beer, go see what's in the fridge, and I guess throw this Thursday night football game on. I don't even know what's going on with the game, but I appreciate all you guys. You guys already know the deal. I appreciate every single one of you guys. You guys all enjoy the fight Saturday. Not sure if I'll be doing a fight companion. Like I said, I'm going to be a little bit more selective about my fight companion shows. It's probably going to be more so big cards. So we'll see if we do a fight companion for Saturday's card, possibly. You guys know you could always follow me on Instagram, MMA Fortune Teller _. I'll keep you guys up to date. Twitter, The MMA Teller. And if you guys want to reach out to me also at my email, MMAFortuneTeller@gmail.com. And yeah, that's pretty much it, I guess. We'll see you guys soon, possibly Saturday, like I said. And reach out to me if you guys have any questions, man. Much love to every single one of you guys. And see what Ben's last comment. I feel like people aren't talking enough about how Santos literally had to learn how to walk again, had surgery on both knees. I'm leaning Glover. There we go. You guys heard it. Ben's calling Glover to win the fight. All right, guys. You guys know what's up. On that note, only one thing to do. Take a last sip. Cheers to you, boys. You guys all have a good rest of your night. Signing out, the Teller.